Behaviorism and second language acquisition. Teachers have a lot of ideas about how a second language is acquired. Some of those ideas are based on their intuition. Some think that languages are acquired through imitation. The teacher says a word or a phrase, and the student repeats that until it is learned correctly. In other words, the student imitates the teacher's behavior. The teacher gives positive reinforcement when the student repeats correctly. The positive reinforcement can be in the form of a smile, approval, or praise, good job. Or the teacher gives a correction, and the student changes the behavior. The teacher now reinforces the correct behavior. A teacher who thinks this views language acquisition as acquiring a series of correct behaviors through conditioning. This view of second language acquisition is a behaviorist view. The behaviorist view of second language acquisition is rooted in behaviorist psychology in general. Behaviorist psychology is based on animal studies like Pavlov's famous dog experiment. This experiment showed how you can condition a dog's behavior. For example, you know that dogs salivate when you show them their food, but they don't salivate when you do other things. For example, you ring a bell or you whistle. However, if you start ringing a bell or if you start whistling every time you show them their food, then eventually they will make a connection between hearing the bell and getting their food. If you keep doing this, showing them their food and ringing the bell together, then they will associate these two stimuli. The connection will be so strong that the dog will start salivating at the sound of the bell, even in the absence of food. You have successfully conditioned the dog to associate the bell sound with the food. This method of dog training has been applied to teaching in general. This view has informed psychologists' understanding of human learning and human behavior. Let's face it, some of this behaviorist conditioning does work. For example, a student is behaving in a classroom the way you want them to behave. She's sitting quietly, listening or reading, and you, the teacher, say, "I see Susie, she is sitting quietly and reading. Well done, Susie." You have just reinforced Susie's behavior. She earned praise from you for doing the thing you want her to do. You are conditioning her behavior with praise. You are showing her that she will get your attention and you will make her into a class role model because she is doing what you have in mind. This is a behaviorist approach to classroom discipline. We know it works within limitations. You model behaviors, you define behaviors, you practice behaviors, you reinforce behaviors, you build good habits. It makes your life easier as a teacher. However, this way of teaching is a lot of work. We know how hard it is to condition children just to do a few basic things this way. It takes weeks of the school year to condition them to line up quickly and quietly, to take their seats on the rug, to keep their hands to themselves, to keep their eyes on the teacher. Yes, they do learn a few dozen or hundreds of actions this way, but it is an awful lot of work on the teacher's part. Thousands of good jobs on the teacher part and lots of attention to catching children performing the behaviors correctly. Imagine needing to teach thousands of words in a new language this way, and teaching children step by step to form phrases and sentences with those words. You can get children to imitate some verbal behaviors, but it would be very difficult to become proficient in a language by imitation and reinforcement alone. Learning a new language is far more difficult than teaching a dog to salivate at the sound of a bell, or to get little Susie to sit quietly during reading time. In short, behaviorism does have some but limited usefulness for second language learning or language acquisition in general. Here's the problem. If we only learned by imitation and repetition, it would mean that we could only learn things that are directly taught, that we could only say things that we have heard. But in fact, we can say what we have never heard before. We can make up completely new things. We can play with language, invent language. Yes, we do have some verbal habits. For example, we might say a few pet phrases over and over again. But much of what we do with language is productive, creative, rule-driven, and not necessarily learned through imitation, conditioning, and habit forming. Some of it perhaps, but not most of it. Teachers who have a behaviorist view of second language acquisition tend to rely a lot on repetition and language drills. Say it after me. The pen is on the table. The chair is next to the table. The desk is near the table. Again, say it after me. And then when they get tired, they send students to the computer to do some more of the same drills that they have become tired of teaching. Yes, these drills work, but they do have a limited role in acquiring a new language. They also have a role in extinguishing students' motivation to want to learn a language, or making students disappointed that they cannot interact with others because they can only say, the pen is on the table, the chair is next to the table, the desk is near the table, and nobody in the world wants to hear them say that.